You're listening to the Awaken Radio Network. Visit the station's website at www.awakenradio.net. Our navigation links are located at the top of the page under the banner. Visit our forums to converse with our hosts. See who our guests will be on the interview page. You can join in the conversations on our live chat room page. Thank you for listening to Awaken Radio Network. Awaken Radio Network is a radio station focused on reminding you how powerful you are. Our hosts share on self-healing, politics, UFOs, spiritual awakening, and everything in between. Join us in the chat room at awakenradio.net or listen on your mobile device through tunein.com. Awaken Radio Network is brought to you by our advertisers, sponsors, hosts, and listeners like you. Shop at our on-site store and make donations to the station. Visit awakenradio.net to chat, shop, and donate. Thank you for keeping the energy flowing and the growth going.
Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Chris, for introducing us to some more great farm ideas. You've inspired me to plunge into the world of herbs. And for now, we're talking about intuition, and I'm Ragozzine. You can join us in the chat room at awakenradio.net and click on the live chat tab. You can also join us on the air by adding Awakened Radio to your Skype or dial 334-649-7204. Tonight, we'll be talking about a little bit more about chakras and a little bit about archetypes. And I've been playing around with something new on Twitter, which is similar to our guessing game, which could be exciting. I'll be naming 3 objects for you instead of having you guess a random picture, and I'll have that object on my desk in front of me. So I'm going to pull a object from my magic bag that's right here and have you identify what that object is. So there's a lighter in the bag, a model plane, a bell, obviously, and I think that's it. The lighter, the model plane, and a battery, and a flashlight. Those 4 objects. So I've taken one from the bag and placed it on my desk, and it's up to you to identify what's on the desk, and extra credit goes to someone who can name the size, shape, and color of the object. So use your intuition to imagine you yourself pulled the object from the magic bag and put it on your desk in front of you, and you're curiously examining it. So give it a shot, and know that not everyone sees in their mind the object that's in front of them. You might sense it with a smell. You might hear the sounds that it makes. You might feel it in your hand. However you sense, connect with that powerful sense first, whatever's the most powerful for you. For some it's smell, for some it's taste, for some it is sight, and some it might be hearing. Whatever it is for you, use that to your advantage and connect with that and try to determine what the secret object is tonight. And you can call in at the number I mentioned or join us in the chat room and make your guesses there. So we'll be taking guesses in the chat room or via call. So if you get a strong hit, please do call and make your guess. And we'll be trying the desktop picture game later. So I'd like to continue our talk with chakras, but really we're looking at allowing and softening and accepting the signals that your body is sending. It's to be able to be better connected to your senses. And the real question is, can we learn how to soften and go with what the messages that are coming to us are? Even if you're in the corporate world, this applies especially if you're in the corporate world, because intuition can be your best friend, so that you know what's happening all around you. But first, we will do a short meditation. I haven't seen any guesses yet, so we'll connect to our senses with our short meditation, which we haven't done in a while. And it's very simple, just allows you to connect with your inner sense of knowing. So making sure you're lying or sitting comfortably and closing your eyes and slowly taking a few gentle breaths, releasing any stress and gently connecting with a sense of inner knowing, inner calm, inner tranquility. And allow this to fill your body and feel it. And notice which areas your body might be talking to you. They might be sending you messages. And believe and feel and know that your answers are within. And spend a moment here gently breathing and connect more deeply to your senses and your body. You might ask for a message as you're sitting here breathing, but allow whatever comes into your perception to come. Perhaps a symbol, word, or phrase, perhaps an answer to a question you have. If nothing comes, that's okay. Just continue breathing and allow yourself a few more moments in this space. When you're ready, you can begin to breathe normally and slowly bring your awareness back to the room and gently open your eyes. So you can try that whenever you need to feel grounded, centered, and connect to your intuition. So I still haven't seen any guesses in the chat room, so I guess we'll continue to talk about softening and letting go and archetypes. Now, got a good Q&A question this week, and it's from a gentleman who says, if I'm a male, does that mean that I need to be more feminine in my goals? And I responded by saying, ooh, there's a guess in the chat room. So I guess Donna guesses airplane, white, red, and blue colors on it. Well, that's a good guess, but that's not the secret object. But I do have an airplane that's red and blue on my desk, but that's not the secret object. So you're pretty good at seeing the pile of stuff on my desk. And ding, 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 we have a guess of a lighter, and that's correct. And the color actually is blue, so you've come up with the right color and right object. And also an additional object, so we've done pretty good tonight. Far better than the past few weeks. So however you came to those conclusions, remember them well. And again, don't dismiss any of your intuitive hits. Take everything in and use it to make your guess. So, and Colin mentions that he trusted his gut instinct, which is cool. That's how you work with your intuition. You trust the basics, basically. So connect with that instinct whenever you want to try to connect more to your intuition. So back to Q&A for now. So I said back in my reply, I said balance is always an important issue. Just notice how you are in relationships, and especially what happens within arguments. So just notice how you are in an argument, and notice, do you feel drawn to be harsh and angry and stand up for all your rights? So then try to give more space to just hear the other person. Let them speak, but notice your body language. Is it threatening and resistive? Take a few breaths and let your muscles relax. Ask the other person to sit down. so that you can comfortably talk out your issues together and make real time to hear them. Of course, the most important thing here is this doesn't mean they have to agree with everything this person's saying. It's just about allowing the space for this other person. And notice how you are in other situations. Do you want to take up the entire room at social gatherings? So notice that too. Do you have to be the one who scores the goal? It's the home run. So just notice, do you have to be that kind of person? Can you be a supportive player? So another good question. Can you be in the background? It doesn't mean they have to be, it doesn't mean they have to drift in the background and be meaningless and let go of all your power. Just another way of looking at how you can show up and help others to do the same. So again, it's looking at bringing balance into your life, and to know that both the masculine and the feminine, the strength and the easing go and the letting go are both important. And really, we're all blending the energies more and more in the world today anyway. And it only really hampers us when we allow one aspect of ourselves to overpower the other. So we really need both. So pay attention. And the key is to keep them in balance, especially, as I was saying before, in the business world and in life today. So just notice, and that's really the same thing with intuition. Really just notice how you're being. If you're stuck in a particular persona, then you'll be hampered from connecting to other people and connecting to yourself on a deeper level. And for me, what I've realized is when I'm trying to make it happen or make something happen, or I don't want to take no for an answer for myself or someone else, I'm just trying to force something to be completed, for instance, that's a warning sign for me to say, slow down, the job will get completed, the project will get completed. It might take some time. I might not know all the answers right at this point, but with time and patience, it'll get done. And to step away from the stress, it's time to sit down and meditate, or maybe just watch TV and zone out, whatever. And a lot of this really relates to archetypes. You can think of them as roles that you've stepped into, but it's really much more deeper than that, much more complicated. But it's something that you were kind of born into. Like a lot of people will say, I always knew that I was going to be a parent, for example. So you've stepped into the mother, or born into the mother or the father archetype. And these patterns are really affect every aspect of your entire life. And if you look to your dreams, going back to dreams, they may often really send communication to you through archetypes. Not necessarily people, but themes and messages, for instance. So a figure may appear in a dream, and by identifying that particular figure, you can learn more about what it has to say to you. So I talked about my beaver dream last week, where there was a beaver, and in his home he had a magic box that you can take your problems to and put your problems in his box, and the box would transform the problems. So I named the dream Leave It to Beaver because it had a humorous ring to me, because it reminded me of Leave It to Beaver television show, and kind of like let it go, let the beaver do his magic on the problem. So beaver kind of embodies the sage, or the wise one, or the healer, or the seer kind of archetype, because he's magic and can really transform your problems, obviously. So for me, that was an important archetype to look at, one that I was already looking at for myself anyway, as I was thinking about talking about these during the week, because it's one of my main archetypes. And I really wasn't thinking about this before, but we all think and relate differently, and often from within the mindset of our primary archetype. So for me, that's the seer or the healer or the mystic, and there's good and bad sides to each particular role or archetype, but we all embody one or probably one main one and have other ones that we inhabit that aren't our primaries. But think about it for yourself, and you might be, for instance, a caregiver, you might be an entrepreneur, or a father, mother, parent, or a warrior, or a rebel, and there's all different kinds and new ones developing. You might read books by Carol Pearson or Carolyn Myss or any number of authors that talk about myth, Carl Jung or Joseph Campbell, and learn more about them for yourself, because they really get into quite a bit of detail and relate to myths and stories and legends. And once you start to learn about them, you can really see how the archetypal pattern really has influenced your life. So we'll talk a little bit about entrepreneurs, for instance. So for them, the pattern that they need to be aware of is getting tired and stopping whatever they're doing. So a key focus for them might be to remain committed, staying focused, and learn about structure and the basics of the business to keep it running and operating efficiently. And this is really just the basics, but that's their mindset. How can they keep everything structured? How can they keep everything running smoothly? For everyone else, they might think that's too harsh. That's not fluid enough. For the caregivers, they might wonder, where's the compassion? Where's the forgiveness? But they have a whole different mindset. It's not to say that they don't share similar qualities with like a caregiver or a parent, but they primarily think differently. So it's looking at how you think, how you behave, what kinds of situations you get yourself involved in, and how you deal with the situation to get yourself out if it's a difficult one or not. I don't know if anyone has any questions. They can call in or type them in chat. Maybe they've had a dream recently that relates to this, that they're kind of trying to figure out. I know I talked about the beaver dream again, and I was relating the stove dream that I talked about also, again, kind of to the sage or the healer archetype, as it was really trying to bring me a message about food. And on the deeper level, that's the theme of the dream. So I guess it's more about wisdom, looking at the wisdom that the dream is offering me, although there's not a character in the dream is offering wisdom and guidance. So you may be having dreams like that, or you may be having dreams, especially as the theme numerologically for 2013 relates to kindness and compassion in relationships. You may be having dreams around relationships. So it might be that images of your parents are showing up, or images of fatherhood or motherhood are showing up, or family. They may be key images at this time, so you want to look to your dreams to see if those are messages there right now. And if you don't remember your dreams, I recommend really simple things like taking a notepad and pen to your nightstand and leaving them there, so that when you wake up you can write down whatever you remember. Or if you have a smartphone, you can use the voice recorder app and just record the dream as you remember it. And it doesn't matter if you remember the whole dream, simple words or phrases will do, and over time you'll remember more and more. So if you have any questions on this, you can call 334-649-7204, or come to the awakenedradio.net, come into the live chat room, or connect to Awakened Radio on Skype. So other archetypes might be the addict, for instance, and the rescuer, or the heroine, or the warrior, or the rebel. And every archetype has key lessons to learn, and a key message to bring to the world. For the addict, for instance, it might be for them to simply learn to say when. So they have to learn when to stop, learn when to know this is no longer good for me. So I kind of related that again back to my stove dream. For the rescuer, they might have to learn when it's time to help themselves, for instance. And in the chat room we have a question, and Psychic Gate mentions dreaming a lot of people in my life who have passed. That can relate to connecting to them via the dream, so they may be coming through and trying to talk with you, or it could be a dream that's relating to their qualities about them. Depends on how you feel when you wake up. Do you feel like the people are still in your room, or just do you feel like they were giving you a message? I guess I'm trying to figure out what the question was, and I'm thinking that you're meaning that they passed away. So from that vantage point, it might be that they're trying to communicate from the afterlife, or more likely it's that you're connecting with your experience about them. And this Leighton mentions she was a pirate, or trying to understand the chat room. Well, if you want to talk about your pirate dream, you can call in. I'm getting confused now, and there's two people with different dreams, so I recommend that you call in. We still have about 8 or 9 minutes before break, so maybe we can work on your dream, but I'll move on if you don't want to call in. So there are some questions that you can use to really learn more about your primary archetype. And one of them is, where do you, speaking to the archetype, bring your desire or your urge or your yearning for this part of my life? So if you're talking to the heroine, where do you bring your urge for exploration and learning more about the world and exploring into your life, for instance, because that's what the heroine does. You want to always be moving about and learning more and being the hero, of course, or the hero. So you might also ask, what am I looking for by pursuing this path? So each archetype puts you on a particular path. So if you're a rebel, you might want to learn what your triggers are and how they keep you on or keep you off your path. So if authority figures automatically trigger you to just rebel and be against authority for no particular reason, then that might not be as effective as if you channeled your rebellious nature into something like activism, for instance. Okay, we have more questions in chat, and I'm not sure. Well, again, if it looks like these are some good dreams to talk about, so I really urge you to call in. And another question. Another question you might ask is, how does this archetype sustain me? So how does this make me feel fulfilled? So ideally, the rebel in today's world will have channeled his energy into something more effective than just pure rebellion. And is probably someone that's really looking at becoming more eco-friendly and trying to look at how we're raising our crops and things of that nature. So, and the warrior knows why he's fighting. For instance, if you have a warrior archetype and is faithful in his reasons and knows that it's for the good of the many, basically. So it's really looking at your perceptions of the archetype and applying it to your life. And again, you can review a lot of this online with Carolyn Miss or Carl Jung or any number of other great psychology sites that talk about archetypes. And we have 4 minutes till break. So what I'd like to remind you about is you can call in if you have a dream or another recurring thing, like seeing recurring numbers, or have an intuitive question you'd like to ask after the break. I'll leave you with a quote and maybe a little exercise if I have time. And Ram Dass says, our whole spiritual transformation brings us to the point where we realize that in our own being, we are enough. So being enough. And as we've been talking about archetypes, if you have any questions about them, feel free to call in. You might even, as I was talking about before, you might even look at recent dreams and notice how they relate to particular archetypes. Dreams about fighting, for instance, could be about the rebel or the warrior. And when we come back, I'll have another secret guessing game, and you can contact me on Twitter at Intuition by Rob, where I tweet about this show, and you can ask me questions that you might have forgot about during the show, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can because I'm a fairly active Twitter user. And I have a challenge this week that I'll mention now as we have about 2 minutes before break. My challenge is to write a short story or a few paragraphs from the perspective of your core archetypes. So as mine was the seer, I would write a page or a paragraph about how I see life through the seer archetype, and spend some time also working with your chakras and seeing how they correlate with your perspective from the core archetype. So see which ones are more open and flowing. So for me, that would be, for instance, the 6th chakra, the third eye, and maybe simply feeling into all of them and seeing how you feel about them, and maybe spending some time in meditation and ask and feel what they need to be supported and helped in your life. And I think that's it for now. We'll come back after break and do the guessing game again.
Thank you for listening to Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net. Join us to take part in our live chat room, our forum. Check out who's going to be interviewed next on our interviews page. AwakenedRadio.net is brought to you in part by TheBarefootGuru.com. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today to find out how you can take part in the Creative Playground Mastermind Group. You will learn how to be awake, aware, alert, and to create consciously the life that you really do want to experience. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today. AwakenedRadio.net is brought to you by you, the listeners, those of you who tune in and listen to us, who take part in our broadcast, who join us on our website to chat with us and interact with us. Those of you who also shop our Awakened store and help us stay on the air and stay growing. You can also support our station by visiting awakenedradio.net and clicking on the donate button. Your love gifts help us to keep the station up and growing strong. Thank you for being part of Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net. Awakened Radio, your people-powered radio station. Join us today at awakenedradio.net. Tell all your friends. Join us in the chat room. Look forward to talking with you there.
Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. And we're back. And if you're so inclined, any and all donations are greatly appreciated. We're all here helping you for no cost to you. So if you've enjoyed the show, please find it in your heart to click the donate button at the top of all the screens. So we're talking about archetypes and chakras. If you have any questions about these, feel free to call in at 334-649-7204 or join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat room tab. So we had some questions about dreams before, but they were fairly confusing. But if you'd like to work with one right now, feel free to call in and we'll talk about it. So more about the archetypes. Now, where did they come from, you might ask? But they've always been with us, and Plato thought they were imprinted upon us before we were born at the time of birth, and then you played out the patterns throughout your life. And Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So it's basically something that's always been with us, and it took later people like Carl Jung to really identify it and more fully explore it. So let's talk about some more questions you might like to ask about them. And you might like to ask, what personal characteristics or events or situations led me to live my life through this particular archetype? And for me, I'm still working with this one for my stove dream, and it really was, I think, getting into a routine and getting stuck there that led me to being stuck in that kind of laziness or not effective use of my time kind of energy. And since you can be everything in your dream, everything in the dream is you, and the beaver dream, I said, listening to my heart, following my path, and really listening. So right there, you can really use the archetypes to see whether or not you've wandered off your path and where you are right now. And another question you might like to ask is, how long has this pattern been a part of my life? So really start to pay attention, and that's where journaling really comes in handy, is right there. So to go back and look at your journal and say, oh, I've always done it this way. I've always been rude on the elevator, for instance. And yes, if you have a dream that you'd like to talk about, you can call in, again, 334-649-7204. Or Awakened Radio on Skype. So these are really core parts of yourself, and as we're talking about the chakras, you can look to see which of your chakras feel more active as you connect into your body. So if your lower chakras, first, second, and third, are alive and vibrant, it's likely that you might be living through an archetype that can access those chakras. And we have a question in the chat room, are dreams in color or not? That's kind of a myth. So really throw out the books and write your own book, basically. That's what I recommend. So learn what the symbols in your dreams mean and start to record those in your journal as you go. And then when you get a dream about an iron, for instance, and you've learned that the iron means strike while it's hot, or go after whatever you're going after with gusto, then you'll know that for yourself. But if you read a dream book, the iron might be talking about housework in the dream book, and that's not at all what it means for you. It meant that for the dream book author. So really pay attention to what your symbols mean for you. And that's why we're talking about archetypes, because we all think differently and we all live our lives with different perceptions. And that's something that really struck me this week, is not everyone thinks like a seer, doesn't always ask what if, doesn't always want to look behind the curtains. So really pay attention to what particular patterns you're living through, and notice how long you've been living in a particular way, and notice through which chakras you've been living your life. So if the second and third are really active in your life, then you've probably been involved in quite a few relationships. And notice too that if your fourth chakra, your heart, is open and active as much as your second and third, because then you'll notice whether you're living for the adventure of the relationship or living through the adventure purely for the romance and the sensuality. So just to notice that. And as we move up, the fifth chakra, which is about your voice, so you might, if you have that chakra, which is open and active in your life and always has been, you're probably living through an archetypal pattern of a visionary or an entrepreneur or someone with a grand plan that wants to make sweeping changes and change the way we do things. And that's why we're talking about this. So just to notice, and when you say, no, I can't do that, and dismiss that, you're really turning away from a part of yourself. So, more comments in the chat room about color and dreams and people joining you in dreams and such. And yes, people can join you in dreams, and usually it's not the people visiting you from the afterlife, but it can be. So just pay attention and notice essentially how you feel when you wake up, and to notice how the room feels. Does it feel suddenly more empty? And that could be a good indication of someone just leaving. But it's different for everyone. And if you're just starting to work with your dreams and notice them, don't be scared off by thinking that you're having visitations or something. Just find a way to open to the wisdom that the dream is bringing you. It's trying to find a way to change or heal or structure something in your life. And as I was talking about my stove dream earlier with the smoking box, it really was trying to address the issue of taking more time to enjoy my food and connect with my food. And as I've been listening to Chris's show, I've been inspired to start to at least plant my own herbs once again. I've killed them in the past, but I either overwatered them or didn't take careful attention to them. But I think I can try it again. I ordered a kit, a little solarium, and then I said, well, I really want to do it with organic herbs, so that's the way I'm going. And I have some organic seeds that I ordered, and when I opened the box, I just noticed they felt completely different than the non-organic, or GMO herbs or whatever. I don't know if they were GMO or not, but at least the organic ones say not GMO, and they felt, to me, completely different and alive. And that's what you'll notice when you begin to connect to your intuition, connect to your senses, is that everything has a feeling, and it's just connecting to it and into it, and connecting with your intuition and noticing how it feels, and to notice what parts of your body activate when you're in the room with someone, for instance, when we're talking about archetypes. Do you feel you want to shrink away? Do you feel you want to approach someone, and to notice what particular patterns those people embody? And I'm just realizing we missed the second object guessing game, so it's time for the magic bag. And I've selected an item, and it's on my desk, and there's a dragon, a battery, a plane, a candle, and a tube of toothpaste, and a bell. This time some more objects in the bag. So make a guess, connect with your intuition, and see what's in the bag and what your mind or your senses tell you. Notice the smells, notice the sights, notice how you feel in your different chakras, and notice if you see any colors or shapes or sizes. Just see what you notice. And we have a question in the chat room, and I guess it's the people in my dream are not known to me. And what I was saying before, I think you might be referring to, is the objects in your dream, everything is a representation of you. So to look at the people as a representation of you. So your grandfather is you if he's showing up, and the bed is you, and the window is you. It's all a part of you. And to look at what that means for you. And you really have to begin to look at the particular dream to try to understand what that means. So if you have one, I'd be more than happy to talk with you. We still have about 15 minutes left, so give us a call, 334-649-7204. And as we were talking about the chakras before, it's just to notice which ones you feel are most active and which ones aren't. Now, they're all supposed to be active and balanced, but it's really paying attention to which ones seem to be typically off kilter, and it's good to find a way to bring balance to them on occasion, once a week, once a month, whatever's appropriate for you. And we were talking about chanting a few shows ago, and you might try that to bring balance and resonance into each chakra. And there's the bija mantras that you can try to chant, and those are very short, one syllable chants, and you can try to use those. You could look up bija mantra, and we'll go through them now. I'm not the best at the pronunciations, but give it a try, and people will tell you what they sound like, and you can listen on YouTube too. there's quite a few clips that run through them all. So the root chakra, the first chakra, is Lam or Lam. Sacral chakra, second chakra is Vam. Solar plexus chakra is Ram. Heart chakra is Yam, sort of like Yum. Throat chakra is Ham, and Hum. Third eye chakra is Om. Crown chakra, I guess depending on which system you follow, it might be silence or might be a longer Om chant. So you can do those chants for yourself, and I'll post them up on the web, and there's plenty of links that you can find about the bija mantras. And it's really best to find a selection of music that works for you. And there's plenty available online that you can pick with music in the background and people going through the chants, and you can find anything from like the Gregorian chants that are deep and rumbling to kind of new agey sounds that are more flowery, and find one that really works for you. But it's really about bringing balance to all of them. So if you're working with one, you probably want to at least make some time to go through the chants for each one of them. Maybe spend 5 or 10 minutes with it, or as long as you feel comfortable doing, and feeling into what you notice in each one. And I didn't really mention the colors, but primarily the root chakra is red, and the sacral is orange, and I'm zooming out on the colors right now, but there's plenty of charts that you can go through. And really, what you really want to do is to notice the colors for yourself and not go with what anyone tells you, because they can have multiple colors. There'll be a primary color, of course, but other colors can be interspersed, especially if there's something up or you're healing something or you want to make changes. So different things are trying to be processed. And Susan mentions that she loves her lucid dreams, where she gets to observe and learn the lessons that are demonstrating and how it relates to her current life experience. Well, that's why I was talking about my stove dream, because they're all related to you and your current experiences. They're all about you, and they're not bad. Even if they do seem scary or frightening, they're still trying to help you out. And that's the most important thing that I want people to know, is that they're there to bring you help in some way or form. And once you get past the scariness or the uneasiness, you'll find them fascinating to work with. And I really recommend just starting to write down what's happening in your dreams, and you'll be amazed as you go along at the sights and the symbols that they're bringing you. Now, as we're talking about the chakras, just notice if you feel any pressure in a certain part of your body, or if you feel more energy, or if you feel heat and tingling. And I was mentioning the second and third chakras before, so just to notice if you feel tingling there, and to notice how you express yourself in your relationships, especially if those chakras are open and functioning very well. And then again, as I was mentioning before, to notice the fourth chakra, and to notice if that's open and functioning, and moving up to the fifth, if you can speak about your relationship in a way that connects to the lower chakras and fully expresses how you feel about the relationship, you're even better off. So it's to notice how you're in a relationship, how you're communicating about it, how you feel about it, and to pay attention to each and every chakra, and to notice what color each one is, what shape it is, how big it is. Certain ones might feel smaller than the others, and that's okay. It's about bringing balance to them and bringing healing and growth and change to them. And just finding a way to do that. And one way might be to chant the mantras. Another way might be to find some tools to step into relaxation. And I was mentioning a really neat tool this week on Twitter and my Facebook about activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which really helps you to lessen your blood pressure and increase blood flow. And it's very simple. And you might want to try it with a partner. And that's just to bring a finger or two to your lips and touch them up and down, and to notice how you feel as you do that. At first, you might not notice anything. You might notice a tingling sensation, and you might stop and say, I don't feel anything, and then a few minutes later, you might feel more relaxed. So just try that for yourself, and if you have a partner, try it on each other. See how that works. And we have Second Gate mentioning the colors in the chat room about the chakras. And yes, those are some pretty good colors, and it could be free. They could be your primary colors too. So notice that. Notice which ones you notice. And Susan mentions the shifts she's been going through with her heart and throat chakras were first experienced in a dream. So that's pretty cool. And notice also, as I was talking about on a previous show, about recurring numbers that you might be seeing. So if you're seeing 111, for instance, or 1234, or something of that nature, just to notice those particular chakras. So notice how you feel if you're seeing 111 about safety and security and comfort. That's the root chakra, and it's all about our security and how you feel around that. And notice what you're doing around your security and notice if you're making yourself more comfortable and supporting yourself through meditation, through relaxation, through making your home more comfortable and inviting, which is very important this year as relationship can be a big issue. So how are you in relationship with yourself, and how welcoming is your home to others? How welcoming is it to you? So if you're seeing those numbers, just to pay attention to those particular chakras and ask yourself what you're doing to support those chakras, and just notice the patterns that are for and against supporting yourself. And I'm really having a fun time with a juicer that I got, and just blending up the carrots, and I plan to use the herbs when I plant them and grow them. Hopefully I'll let them get to full growth this time. But just to notice what the messages are and start to pay attention to them in your life, and keep a journal. Keep a journal for your dreams. Keep a journal for the messages that you receive in waking life, and make a symbol book about your particular symbols. The pagans and witches call that the Book of Shadows, I guess. So make your own Book of Shadows, or your own dream book interpretation, and really you'll have less of a need for the other books. And as I was reading Carolyn Miss, she had a good question which really struck me as powerful. She said most people with the seer or mystic kind of archetype had like 20 or 30 books at home on personal growth. And she said, what other topics do you have that many books? And I thought that was kind of a neat question, and it's really important. Like, what other topics of books do you have at home? Think about that, especially if you relate to that particular archetype. And really pay attention to that. So, If you have any questions, we have about 5 or 6 minutes left in the show, and you can type them in the chat room, or you can call in at 334-649-7204, or you can contact me on Twitter at Intuition by Rob, or you can contact me here through the forums and leave a reply in my forum, and that's the ways that you can contact me. Now, I talked about the exercise that I'd like to leave you with from last week, for next week, which is to write a paragraph or two, or maybe a page, about how you are living through your archetype, and maybe also write about which chakras that you feel most connected to, and just to notice which ones usually give you the most strength, how you feel motivated and engaged in your life. You feel like you're always struggling to support yourself. You feel you're stuck in the first chakra. Do you feel like you have lots to speak about and you're communicating well out through the throat chakra? Or do you feel like you're trying to maybe connect to the world and the universe out through the seventh chakra, or trying to escape? Either way, just notice how you're communicating with the world, how you're communicating with yourself, and just basically to notice and to pay attention to whether you're coming through the masculine, we'll say, or the feminine side, but just to notice whether it's more aggressive or receiving, and just to notice which qualities are more prevalent and try to find a balance. And yes, you can go through the Awakened store and go into Divine Connections and order a reading from me or a number of other hosts here, or you can order other stuff like dream catchers and crystals and books, and I think Donna made all the dream catchers, so help her out and make a donation to the store and get a neat dream catcher. So that's it for this week, and if you want to contact me again, it's Intuition by Rob on Twitter, and you can connect to me on Facebook too, and I have my Facebook links on Twitter, and I have a couple guessing games on there, so link to those and like my Facebook page, and I guess have a good week.
Oh, well, this is cool. Wish we could get him to do a little promo. And speaking of you, Bryce, and also Don Mose to say, this is Don Mose from Happy Days, and you're listening to Awakened Radio.
Sure. Hi, this is Don Most from Happy Days, and you're listening to Awakened Radio.
Oh, that is totally cool. Thank you, Bo Bear. That's just for you. And Bryce, we've got to get you to say this is Bryce Zabel, author of AD After Disclosure, and you're listening to Awakened Radio.
This is Bryce Zabel, author of, excuse me, I'm going to try that over. I didn't even like that. I'm such a producer, I can't even say it. Like, my friend Don is an actor. He can say these things right off. I'm just the man behind the scenes. So I'll try it one more time. This is Bryce Zabel, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you're listening to Awakened Radio.
I think you did.
You are listening to Awakened Radio. Join us today at awakendradio.net. You want to go mobile with Awakened Radio? Tune in to the mobile application at tunein.com. Search for Awakened Radio, and you're ready to take us everywhere.